Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Two Wizards and a Mic, where a couple of old dudes that have been playing D&D for some time talk about it as if they know everything, because we do. And I challenge you to challenge us on that at any turn. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew now because I'm losing my train of thought. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, how are you doing?
Not too bad. How it's been like 9 years since we recorded. So what's the
Yeah,
update on that little Kickstarter you're running?
well, there's two. Um, yeah, the first one, The World of Mir, the hardcover, the first printed book is still on its way. I'm expecting it should probably arrive this week.
Excellent.
If there's no problems and it looks really good, then immediately we can start ordering the printed books for the backers. Um, So that's the World of Mir. I'm also finishing, there's a few little booklets that go with it, like one
Right.
that gives you more detail on the factions, one that details the history of the world, of the continents, one that tells you about all the inns and taverns.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, so the factions booklet should be done this month. The other two probably September. And then the new Kickstarter is the Mushroom King adventure, which I finished the manuscript for. So we're waiting on 4 maps and then some art from Travis. So we're moving along quite well.
Kick ass. I'm
Hmm.
kind of excited about this because I got an email I don't know 2 or 3 days ago saying, "Hey, by the way, we need to mail you this book." And I'm like, "Nah, I'll just go get it."
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. Writing wise, the only thing I'm doing the factions booklet for Mir and and those other booklets I'm working on, and then we're also getting the next adventure ready, which will probably be kickstarted
Excellent.
in October, maybe early November, but hopefully October. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. And then there's been so much drama as usual.
Yeah, you wrote this in our show notes, and I have been, for those who are keeping score. I've actually been away. I've been driving a very long way back and forth, so I've not actually been paying attention to the drama. Do tell.
Oh, you know what? I'm not paying attention to it anymore. I see some of it. I mean, most of it is luckily muted and blocked, so I never actually see it.
Right, right, right.
But of course, things feed through because there's a lot of people I know, and yeah, it's just the same old stuff, um, which we're going to ignore because we here have some, some interesting things you might use to add to your game, and some of our favorites and least favorite things, and we basically take from fifth edition and first edition, and then we try to find some things that can help have a fun game.
Exactly. I'm glad you said it because I would have tried to. Drama be damned.
Yeah.
So this week we're talking about subclasses, and what is it about these subclasses? They're our favorites. They're our least favorites. They're the ones that we ignore entirely. Let's talk.
Yeah, so there are a lot. I think there's too many. I don't think more is always a good thing. If there were less subclasses, it would make the game more concise and clear.
Right.
Today, we're going to look at some from the player's handbook and Xanathar's, because I think that Xanathar's is really the only useful sort of supplement in 5e.
Right.
And it's very good for the most part. We do have some of our own subclasses in Cawood Publishing books. We're not going to talk about those today, and we're going to add a few more, but the extra ones that we're going to add are tied into our World of Mir, so they're
Okay.
great. Those, we haven't done them yet, but those we'll look at that at a later point. So today we'll look first at the player's handbook. So the barbarian, in general, it's an okay class. And I don't really have a huge thumbs up or thumbs down for either subclass.
Right.
And definitely make your opinion heard because we could disagree about some of these. Um, Bard. So Bard is fine. I think it's cool to have a jack of all trades class, but I personally would take magic out of it, and um, we're going to do that. We're
Okay.
going to have a no magic Bard subclass coming out. Okay, cleric is the first one that I'd say there's actually a couple I really like. Um, I like the life domain because it's like a classic cleric, and you can heal yourself and others at the same time. As you go up in level. It's got a cool way of like you looking after characters who are down,
Yeah.
and I really like the Tempest. The Tempest is,
Really?
yeah, it's similar to like a Thor kind of character. You know, you can thunderously rebuke characters like monsters that attack you. You can maximize your thunder and lightning damage, and you can even push creatures back with your lightning damage
Right.
as well. So I like those. Um, I don't like the nature cleric. To me, that makes no sense. Nature spellcaster is a druid.
Yeah, there is actually kind of there's a lot of upload. That was not the word I meant to say. A lot of overlap. And you're right. I hadn't actually considered that before.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't see the point in like druids are more in the wilderness and obviously to do with nature. Cleric is more to do with the temple and it's more based in a settlement.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I think this one, I think they've done that too many times by having too many subclasses. So this one, I don't understand why it's there. The trickery one too, a trickster cleric. That's not a cleric. So my reasoning behind my personal view on those two subclasses is they're not really clerics.
No. No, I would agree. I don't like the trickster either because the trickster is to me is always in the rogue sort of realm of things.
Yeah.
And there's no I mean, why would they have multiple? It's kind of like somebody at some level made a decision to say, "Hey, we need to have more variety in this particular class,"
Yeah.
and they just had no new ideas, and they went back to I don't know. A trickster is kind of like a basic thing in Dungeons and Dragons, in my mind, anyway. Like, there's no real. It's like it's an archetype of a lot of things, and it's
Well,
always to me has always been in the rogue realm.
yeah, you like you said, it works with the rogue really well. Um, yeah, I think there's too much overlap. I think it's nicer when the classes are more, they're very specific and clear. There's one exception for that to me. The druid class is fine. I'm not really super high on either subclass. They're
Right.
okay. They're fine. They're not terrible. Fighter, I really like the Eldritch Knight. This is the only one where
Yeah.
I think a combo works, and it works because there is an archetype of a spell sword, of a warrior who has some magic. And so I think this one, if you have limited magic with the warrior, I think this is the one that works because you have some wizard spells and you have the ability to, like, for example, you can cast a cantrip and then use a weapon attack as a bonus later on. So
Yeah.
I think that one to me, I like the combo, but usually combos to me, they don't work and they're taking away from other classes. Like if you become a nature cleric, why do you need druids? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Um, then the basic monk is fine. The kind of hand-to-hand combat, the way of the open hand,
Right.
basically every kind of monk I've almost ever seen in 5e. The way of the shadow, um, it says like you have these magical effects. Like you can create darkness or silence or create minor illusions. To me, again, why infuse monk with magic? That's not a monk, right? Way of
No.
4 elements. Your monk has elemental powers. Neither of these to me, like they don't add to monk to me. They take away from what a monk really is.
Yeah, because Among Us is more of a holdover from that book a million years ago called Oriental Adventures, I think. There was a lot of monk stuff in there from what I remember, um, because it was kind of like an adventure set built around that. At least it's been a very long time since I've played that, and that book is never going to return. But I don't know. I kind of feel like there are some things where you have this mystical power that allows you to fight and all kinds of things, and give you all kinds of other options. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the monk came out before that book, but you're right. They did add a whole bunch of other elements and options, I think, when the book came out. But I'm pretty sure monk was more earlier on. And I think like
Yeah.
to me, the monk is hand-to-hand combat, and they're able to like harness the power of their body and their mind. But I think they went too far, and they're kind of like they're like, well, then they could do magic, or then they could have elemental power. Like, um,
I think the inspiration, and at least this is, I mean, I'm 100% guessing,
yeah.
but is the um we've seen a bunch of films now where there's a kung was it not, it's not kung fu, what's it called, woo something,
Well, like
where you
Crouching
can,
Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and stuff.
yeah, exactly, where you float
Yeah,
through the air, that kind of stuff.
yeah,
To
yeah,
me, that's kind of where this is probably coming from.
for
um
sure, for sure.
yeah.
But I don't think that fits in D&D.
Not at all.
No,
Well, I mean,
like obviously people have different tables and different games. But my point is that like traditional D&D based in like a medieval sort of world, things are
right.
grounded in some kind of reality. Like you're a wizard and you have magic. Yeah, that's because you have access to this spell book and this magical power in your training. But the monk, you just suddenly like have this power, like supernatural power. Like doesn't where does it come from? Like to me, it doesn't make sense.
No, I kind of agree, because there's definitely a lot of things in the monk that are going to basically just fall into the magic realm.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I don't know. I like that. I mean,
Oh, really?
I was a fan of westerns back in the day. Um, and then if you got into some of the more modern westerns, there's definitely, if you introduce a character that has the ability to do hand-to-hand combat, I'm talking like Jackie Chan, for example, you could almost consider that to have some kind of, mystical elements behind that allow that character to have superhuman abilities in a way. But I can see your point with, like, there's too much magic being given to characters that are not traditionally thought of as magic wielders. So I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, like if you give everybody magic, and that's what they're doing with the new update to 5e, like
Right.
everybody moves the same speed. Nobody has any racial bonuses. Um, like it's like everybody has magic. Let's give everybody dark vision. It takes away from what the classes mean. Otherwise, there's no point in having the classes because they're all the same. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, exactly, because I mean, I can see them. I mean, basically, they're erring on the side of no caution. They're just erring in general, to make a homogenous kind of game, which they're. I don't. I mean, anyone can argue the whole woke world, all that kind of stuff, but ultimately, um, if you're trying to reflect the real world, which from some of the artwork, there's definitely a conversation going on. So orcs are now from Mexico or some sort of Latin America sort of culture. Like, why have an orc with a sombrero kind of thing, right? That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Mhm.
But it's like, they're doing this weird. I don't want to say overcorrection, but they've gone so far to one side that they're doing this weird thing to the game that ceases to reflect what our world is all about. Our world is the basis that we all know. We know it's diverse. It has all kinds of cultures, all kinds of differences, all kinds of commonalities. And D&D, in my mind, is exactly that. You have all these different cultures that have come together for better or for worse, and they don't like each other. They love each other. Who knows? And then you take, I don't know, storytelling, and it's like, well, hey, here's a reflection of reality in D&D where you've got this warlord who wants to do this, or this wizard is going to want to take over that thing for whatever reason, but now everyone, it's like they want everyone to be friends now. Everyone should be friends. There's no conflict in D&D. Huh? What? I don't know what game you want to play, but I also don't know what universe do you live in. Like, it seems to be that there's it's kind of like they really, really, really want to make D&D for children, but they don't want to make D&D for children. They just want to apply these concepts. Because, sure, you know what? Have a D&D for children, make it a lot more whatever, this, that, and the other thing. But when they get to a certain age, they're going to want to play the big boy game, and it's going to be very different. And I think that's really what they should be doing. Hey, Wizards of the whatever, hire me. I'll fix all your problems. And but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They have all these sorts of crazy ideas that really are meant for something I think that they just don't want to do. Anyway, blah blah blah.
All right, so let's look at the Paladin. Here's another one I would ditch the magic. It's not necessary. The Oath of the Ancients, I really like this one. It's a combination of having like a Fey Knight or a Nature Knight. This is like perfectly made for like an elf or a half elf, especially. Really cool idea. Oath of Vengeance. Now, there's many new subclasses for Paladin that aren't Paladins. It just makes no sense. Like this one, to me, a Paladin basically is lawful good. I suppose maybe lawful neutral, but this idea that they're out for vengeance, that's not a Paladin. You can look up what Paladin means. Like, Ranger has got a lot of hurt over the years. The 5e Ranger, it's okay. Could be better, but again, I wouldn't have magic. And we have our no magic Ranger in the Monsters of the Wilderness, which is, I like the combination. We kind of made a rogue with some, or a Ranger with some rogue abilities and wilderness abilities. The rogue, I really like the assassin. This one is a great stealthy rogue.
Yeah.
You can have advantage on creatures that haven't attacked yet. You can create a false identity or mimic speech and other behaviors and patterns of someone. This is a really good one for role-playing and storytelling. The Arcane Trickster, again, why would a rogue have magic? And one time, I think we had a character who did it. I don't think it really adds that much. I think it's better just to keep the rogue.
I mean, the thing that they're missing from that perspective is that these characters don't necessarily have to have their own. They don't have to have their own magical abilities. They should be able to utilize magic items. And like, there's a game, every time I think of assassins or thieves or anything of that nature in the rogue class, I think of the game Thief, where the character is not magical. They just have weaponry that certain types of arrows, like if they want to not make noise, they shoot an arrow at a metal surface and moss grows. If they want to put out a torch or somehow be unseen, they have water-based, like these arrows with water on the end, so you can put out torches. It's like they've missed that boat of, instead of making them. I mean, you think about it. Aragorn. He's not really magical. He's just a guy that knows how to do stuff, and that's kind of what the game Thief I always think of. Is it's a guy who knows how to use stuff, and he's like, hey, you know what? I totally want to be able to do that thing. So, oh look, I can make this thing that'll do that job. We're not, waving my hands and causing magic to happen. Like there's all these sorts of elements that could be utilized rather than, the magic. When did magic in the rogue, was that just 5e or was that prior to that?
I'm pretty sure it's 5e, but I don't know 2e, 3e, and 4e. So
Yeah, exactly.
possible it happened before, but yeah. So sorcerer, wild magic, I really like. I love it. It's unpredictable. It's a great sorcerer idea. Someone who's infused with magical power. Um, it's a lot of fun. I actually have the magic surge happen more often than they have in the book. That's the one thing I change. Um, the warlock, I think a lot of 5e rules work. A lot of the subclasses work. This is the only class I think that doesn't work. I don't think it's that interesting. It doesn't really work as a PC, I think, many times.
Right.
Yeah, and then wizards, I like the abjuration school because it's cool to have some protection for the wizard, and they can actually protect other people as well. The necromancy, again, I don't see how that fits into an adventure mode. And illusion, I like. It's like the classic illusionist. There was actually an illusionist class originally, just separate from the wizard. Yeah, so this one is cool. Like you get enhanced illusion abilities. Yeah, so that's for the player's handbook. There's a lot I like. There's some, mostly the magic ones that I'm not really, super high on.
Yeah.
As far as Xanathar's, it has a lot of new stuff. The barbarian, again, why is there a magical barbarian? I wouldn't do that. Bard, I like the idea of the College of Glamour, but the way they did it mechanically, it's overly complicated. The College of Swords is awesome, so that makes total sense. A sword master who uses their sword master skills to entertain, but they also can use those for combat.
Yeah.
Great idea. Great idea. Really good for role playing. I love both cleric subclasses. The forge domain. So this is like, a cleric who can make armor and weapons and items. They get bonuses for their armor because they know more about it and they can make,
Yeah.
armor. So the forge one is a perfect cleric. Like it fits, the human blacksmith or the dwarven cleric fits it perfectly. The grave domain is a cool idea. It's that you have this insight into the afterlife, which actually can help you. And I like that idea because that makes sense with a cleric. And it's not necromancy, it's something else.
Well, I think I seem to recall that I actually made a character. I didn't end up using it. I think I went with a different domain. But I did create a grave domain character because I thought the being able to stop death essentially, in some ways, where you could protect other characters from expiring, rather than just stabilizing or a few other elements.
Right.
Just thought that was kind of a different take on it. Maybe I'll have to do that next time I play with a cleric. Is try that out because that definitely to me made a big difference in how I would actually play a cleric. So.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea. Druids, the Circle of Dreams one, there's some possibility there for making something cool, but I think they overly complicated it and it's kind of overpowered actually.
Right.
the fighter, the Cavalier, is really cool. So this came out in the Dragon magazine after the original rules came out. And so it's a mounted warrior basically. And this is cool because they can easily dismount and mount. That's a little bit harder for a regular character. It's really good if you have a lot of travel, like in our games.
Right.
And it's really good character who can protect other characters.
Which we don't have enough of, to be honest. I mean, clerics are pretty much treated as, being a thing, but other classes should have those abilities too, to a certain degree. I mean, we all talk about whether or not people have the ability to heal others in terms of, well, actually, back to briefly to the previous commentary was basically, characters don't normally know how to use band-aids. They don't know how to go and heal another character if they're not a cleric or if they're not another, like a wizard with healing or whatever. How would a non-magical ranger or fighter be able to heal somebody if they didn't have a potion? What kind of skills should they have in healing where, it's like, oh, I'm bleeding. Well, here, let me put on a tourniquet or put on a thing or whatever. I don't think we ever get in that lost in the weeds, but it'd be kind of nice to actually have that recognized as a skill, because it is in the specialties. So yeah. Anyway, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, no, there is the healer's kit, right? Which you can have, you can be better skilled at, and everybody could have if they buy it. I was more talking about like the ability, like a paladin, that they have some abilities to protect people and ward off attacks.
Right.
There's not many classes that do that sort of thing, and the Cavalier is another one that does, which is cool. The monk, I really like the way of the drunken master. So basically, you use the technique of the unpredictable drunkard, but it's actually done on purpose, and it's really fun for role play. I think it really would add to the character.
Especially since, isn't that a performance skill for the drunken master? Isn't that it increases your performance ability? And
yeah, that is part of it. And part of it is like, it's almost like Jack Sparrow a little bit too, right? He has that quality, right?
Yeah,
or some kung fu masters. I think some of the Jackie Chan stuff, I think maybe. But it is a cool version of the monk. I think that's a neat idea. The ranger, the Gloomstalker. So I like this a lot.
Okay.
Healthy ranger who's really good at dealing in the darkness. And it's kind of similar to our ranger from the Monsters of the Underworld we made. I think they were both made at the same time, so that's a coincidence. I like that one.
I've never played it. I would love to actually try it now.
Yeah, that's a good one. Stealthy character is always really good. The Rogue, I love everything they did. They have 4 new subclasses. The first one
What is your fave?
My favorite of all of them, probably the first one is the Inquisitive. So
really?
This is like a detective. They're kind of like Sherlock Holmes. You are really good at uncovering secrets and mysteries. You notice details. You notice your opponent's tactics. You notice illusions and shape changers.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool to have like a rogue Inquisitor and a rogue Mastermind as like the two?
Yeah, so the Mastermind.
I see what you're laying down there.
So they focus on influence and secrets of others. They use words as their weapons, and they treasure secrets they hold and favors that they owe. They can mimic speech patterns. They're good at disguise and forgery. They can learn about other creatures' capabilities. So both those are really cool. They've got something quite different than the usual subclass. Then we have the Scout, which is like a wilderness rogue, which I like.
Yeah.
And then the swashbuckler, which is like a pirate sword master rogue, which I think is pretty cool.
I think we did. I think in the Firefly campaign, I don't know if it was my character, but I know that somebody did choose Swashbuckler because of the. Whoops! I just hit my table. Um, the the fancy feet. Is it fancy feet? Let me look it up here. Fancy footwork.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, because that was kind of interesting about being able to essentially it looked like a dodge mechanic kind of thing, but
Yeah, yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah, I think it has a lot of cool features. And we do a lot of travel, a lot of wilderness adventures, so the scout would be really useful. And then the last two, the divine soul sorcerer, to me, that's a cleric or a celestial type thing. I don't see how this fits into sorcerer. One that does fit is the storm sorcerer. So I really like it. It has a lot of cool role playing options, and it's somewhat similar. It has some similarities to the Tempest cleric, but this one
Right.
is more. This one works more for the sorcerer, and it's different. Um, and I like that. You could add all this like personality to your character.
The isn't the Storm Sorcerer? Isn't that one that I kind of think of that as what is that X-Men
Yeah,
Halle Berry's character from those
Storm.
films? Storm.
Yeah,
And that kind of is basically what I think of when I think of this particular subclass, because it is, um, if I remember correctly, you can also toss uh, uh, toss. You have like air to protect you. Is that right? Am I remembering this right? Where you have the ability to, um, allows you to float and be able to
yeah,
dodge opportunity attacks and things like that as a bonus action. So those, I just think of like Storm floating in the air, being like, "I'm going to bring Hellfire, or whatever, Fury down upon you." Um, because the reason I like that is not necessarily for that power, but for the ability for people to playing the game, like the players to actually visualize this incredible sight of
yeah,
these of this character doing that. And I think you can do that very early on. Is
yeah.
that like first level?
First level, you can
Yeah.
cause whirling gusts of elemental air to surround you, and you can fly up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. So it's more dramatic than tech like mechanically great, but other than not getting the opportunity attacks, uh,
Mm.
but it is a cool feature, and yeah, there's a lot of personality to that subclass.
Well, especially when you have these subclasses that are adding to the ability for players to add to the story, um, because again, like I harp on before in many episodes of the show, is that I like the fact that you are giving people that are not necessarily good at imagining uh, a fictional existence of themselves as this character, um, and they focus more on the dice, they focus more on the rules, they focus more on, rather than the, okay, instead of just saying cast spell X or swing sword Y, I'm going to bring my sword up this way and I'm going to slash down because I'm going to stare them in the eye, those kinds of things. And, I'm going to, Jay is very good at this, when casting spells, instead of just saying, I cast blah, Jay goes, all right, this color pops out of the ground and swirls around me, and suddenly out from my hands, this ray of whatever, is going to strike the creature in front of me, that kind of stuff. And that adds to getting people into that frame of mind, so that when they're thinking about, oh, my character is a barbarian, and I have a great axe, or I have a large sword, I'm able to use this in not just ways to attack something. We run up against a door. Okay, well, let's beat down the door. No. I'm going to take my sword. I'm going to jam it into the thing, and I'm going to tilt it this way, and I'm going to shatter the thing, and, to get people into that sort of stuff. And, I don't have the hate on for magic that you do, but I totally understand where you're coming from, because I think you're right. We don't need every single character to have magical abilities. I think that you could easily replace the bulk of those magical abilities with an item that they can cast. Say, I don't know, they have in the rules, there's a character subclass that has this type of spell. Instead of that, you could replace it with a piece of jewelry that has that ability. But it adds the really cool elements of, you could lose that piece of jewelry. It could fall off you. It could be taken from you. And these kinds of things. And I think that's a missed opportunity from the makers of the game. But hey, at your table, you could always do that. I'm sorry, these characters don't have magic. However, here is a table of the alternates, and you can choose, whatever out of these, and you will have some of those abilities. And I don't know if that subclass loses or gains some sort of ability points. There's always things that can be done for that as well. So it's just a game, people.
It is. Yeah. My whole point is that it's nice to have the classes mean something and have their own separate, sort of domain that they, and definition. So you know what it is.
Yeah.
As opposed to all the classes being the same.
Well, exactly. And that's, and you're right. And this is the major issue of, all of this is, if they're trying to make everyone equal, make a different game. Improve the game you already have. Because, yes, an orc could probably punch the face off of a human more easily than a human could do it the other way around. And that's because they're different species. And, it's drama.
I think there's a lot of good ones. I think there's too many. Like I said, it gets complicated because there's so many subclasses. That makes it hard,
especially for brand new players.
The DM.
Well, exactly. That's actually something else that. Here's the thing, though. In that sort of relationship between person who's running the game and the person who's playing the game, to me, it's the responsibility of the DM to understand what these abilities are, even if they have to go look them up if they really, really want to know. But I think it's more important that it's actually the player that needs to feel that level of responsibility to say, hey, I'm playing this subclass. And the DM could easily go, I've never actually had anyone play that. So, okay, well, here's what it is. Actually have that. And every so often to spoon feed the DM, hey, by the way, my character has this ability. Here's the thing I'm going to do. Yeah. I don't think leaving everything in the realm of the DM is really a good idea, because I got to tell you, people listening and watching this show, it's hard to find good DMs. There are a lot of bad DMs that I've played with, and it's not because they're bad at the game. It's because they can get overwhelmed very easily. And it's hard to run a game when you have 5 people, 6 people at a table. There's no way in any shape or form that a human being is going to remember every detail about your character and every detail about the abilities your character has. If you say certain words, the DM's going to go, oh yeah, of course. Yeah, that's great. No worries. I can totally do that. But, there's going to be some things where they're going to be like, what? Okay, where's my book? That.
Yeah.
That's going to happen in a game anyway, but we like to minimize how many times the DM has to go to the book, because when you're at the table, in theory, you have a book to share. You have a book of your own. You can, if you have a great idea about what you want to do and whatever situation the party is in, Go to your book, go to your sheet, go, oh, I could do this. Oh, hey, I could totally do that because I did. Blah, 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 blah. And that way you can explain that in very, very quickly to, the people in your party. And the DM can go, nod quietly. Or the DM could be like, really? You could do that? That's kind of cool. All right, well, let's try it out. Because, you can only climb up the side of a creature's face and stab him directly in his nose so many times. Something new, Shane? Really? End of rant.
All right. Well, yeah, people can also check out in some of the monster books we have. Like I said, we have a few subclasses we've done as well. And then we will have a few more, but not too many, that fit more into the world of Mir as well. And yeah, I think, like I said, there's mostly lots of good stuff, and there's definitely lots of choice for the players. That's for sure.
Which reminds me, speaking of the World of Mir monster books, I will point out that I had a really great moment yesterday where I had a friend who had a website problem. I said, why don't you come over and we'll fix it? And he showed up, and he's also a D&D player. And on my shelf are all these books. And he goes, I recognize all these ones. What are these? And he started pulling down your books and actually flipping through them. Like, oh my God, these are cool. And then he's like, where can I get these? I'm like, well, go to worldofmir.com and you can find out. So yeah, it was just a very cool moment of somebody admiring your and Travis's and a bunch of other people's work, which was kind of nice. So don't forget, everyone, go to worldofmir.com, because if you don't, I will hunt you down and tickle you until you go to the website. That's just how it is. And if you don't know how to spell it, this is how you spell it. Cawood Publishing, World of Mir, world of MYRR.com. And you could, of course, will find all the links that you could ever want to find out where to pick up those things. Oh, and they're also down below in the thing. I keep forgetting about that thing down there. It's terrible. Anything else you want to say about the Kickstarters that are ongoing?
No, I think I gave a good
sorry?
update. Like I said, hopefully the printed World of Mir will be here in the next few days, and hopefully it looks great and there's no issues to sort out. And yeah, I'm eagerly awaiting it.
Me too. So everyone, thank you for watching and or listening. We do this for the fun of it. We do this for the joy of it. And we don't take sponsors unless you want to sponsor us. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Later.